I'm just kind of showing you a shot of the truck out behind the shop. I've got it plugged in. It has been sitting for probably 3 or 4 days, not plugged in. I came in this morning. It was kind of cold. It was in the single digits here overnight, so it was kind of cold. I plugged it in this morning, let it sit for about half an hour, and then tried to start it, but it was the battery is really low on it. Again, I've got that parasitic draw on the battery. That's kind of why I'm trying to start it. I'm trying to get it into the shop so that I can get to work on that. But anyways, I just thought I would show it to you this morning. Welcome to another shop update. This one is going to be a little different. There really hasn't been a lot going on this weekend. I'm going to kind of explain that to you as we go along. So as I had told you in the clip previous to this, I had wanted to get the truck in here, and that's what I did. Got it in here. Now it's going to take a day. What I did is these like zebra stripes in the snow here are just to allow the heat to get to it more, and it'll melt the snow quicker. So I just shoveled some zebra stripes in it so that it would melt faster. But I got it in here. There's a couple of things that I want to do. I've got to I want to check out that parasitic draw on the batteries, see what's going on with that. I want to, as you all know from a previous clip on this, or a previous video, shouldn't say clip, a video on this truck, I had replaced the bearings and the seals in the front axle. One of the things I want to do, I'm going to jack it up and check the play in the rest of the axles. One of the viewers actually mentioned that that's what I should do, because if the seals and bearings had been replaced before and it was loose, like I had told you in that video about replacing that seal and bearings, it was very loose when I took it apart. If the same person did that to the rest of them, there's a very good possibility that I might have bad play in the some of the other wheel hubs. But anyways, yeah, so it's in the shop and we're gonna get back on it. The other thing I gotta do is put the air intake system back together again on the front of the truck. I had pulled it off just to kind of explore what was going on with the air intake to this. It's a 2007 and it does not have a diesel particulate filter, but it does have a EGR. And one of my biggest hates in this world is EGRs. They destroy engines terribly fast, recirculating that gas back into the intake. If you go on YouTube, you can see some videos of the damage that's been done to intakes on diesel engines. You can also see the results of it. I'm not going to be able to open this up. I'm trying to hold the camera. Yeah, I'll open it some other time and show you what I'm talking about. But I just kind of wanted to see their intake arrangement, because there is a possibility I might want to delete that EGR off of here, and there's a couple of ways of doing it, but I'll bring you back at some other time and we'll talk about it. We're gonna have a little conversation. My channel is kind of I base my channel on trying to learn stuff. Um, Hopefully you guys can learn something from me, whether it I have the knowledge of doing something, or if I do something and don't know what I'm doing, make a mistake, you'll learn by not making that same mistake. My whole premise of my work ethic and stuff was like based on that, trying to learn as much as possible. Um, Not so much as a conscious learning process, but a kind of like a subconscious. You watch people do something, or you see people do something, and you absorb it. And maybe you can use it right away, or you just kind of put it in the back of your head and use it at some later date. I kind of go through my shop, and you see my shop from that perspective. You don't see other parts of my life. Now, I watch a lot of YouTube channels, and my nature is I've always wonder about things. I'm not kind of a bullshitter where I talk to people about miscellaneous chit-chat things, weather, whatever. Usually, I'm not a very big talker. When I do get involved in conversations, usually it's about something of interest to me, or something that I might know that I might want to be able to share with somebody else who might need that knowledge, or who might be working on something and I can help them with. So I subscribe to a lot of channels, and my thought process is watching the channels of interest to me, but in the back of my mind, I'm kind of wondering about that person or that company or whatever it may be. There's a lot of channels that I watch. I'm not going to name names, but there is a farmer that I watch that is kind of over in central New York, and very mechanically inclined, does a lot of work on his own equipment. And one day he was showing a thing about a hot water heater in his house. It was kind of really off key for him. He's more of the farming aspect and equipment maintenance and fixing than kind of showing anything like that. And he was showing fixing the hot water heater in his house, and part of the clip was him throwing some of his work clothes in the washing machine. Now this guy, I bet you this guy probably gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning, because he's doing the morning feed of the cows in the barn, and it's a very big dairy farm. I think he's running approximately around 2,800 head of cattle. He gets up at like 4 o'clock in the morning for the morning feed before they're milking, and then goes in like, depending on the type of season, it's winter now, so he's more into fixing equipment in their maintenance shop. But it kind of struck me, he's mentioned his wife before when he bought a truck. He said his wife uses it more than him, but it kind of struck me as odd that you never see or hear about her other than that brief mention, and then he was throwing his clothes in the washing machine. It just struck me as odd. Maybe it wouldn't affect other people that way, but that's kind of things that I think about when I'm watching somebody else's channel. You know, what is a person like that is married to this person? So one of the things that is going on in my life. I told you in the past that my wife is sick, and again, being a learning type of process, I'm going to share something with you because I didn't know it, and I had put off a lot of things because of fear for something. I didn't know. Let me backtrack here a little bit. When I say my wife is sick, my wife has dementia. She has dementia pretty bad. And it's a vascular caused dementia. It's not Alzheimer's. In other words, she probably had mini strokes in the past that caused the dementia. She has other psychological problems beside the dementia, which makes it kind of very hard for her to get along with people. She has an issue getting along with me, but it's always been like that in our marriage. She's the type of person that she's the type of person that would put the blame on everything on somebody else. So I was that person to her because I was the closest to her. So it was easier for me to get blamed for things than anybody else. I have been struggling with this issue for quite a while. I have a granddaughter that's a nurse, and she wants her health care taken care of one way, and I don't necessarily agree with it. So let me just explain something to you. It would be very easy for somebody to say, well, just put her in a nursing home or put her in a home and let them deal with the issues of it. And there's a lot of issues with dementia. There's issues regarding her wandering off. There's issues with health or hygiene. There's all sorts of issues with this. And so every time that I leave the house, I'm never sure of what's going to happen. Every time I come to the shop, even though my shop is within a mile or two of my house, you never know what's going to happen. You never know what's going to happen when you fall asleep at night. She has a tendency of staying up a lot at night. Well, I'm trying to sleep and other people are trying to sleep. She's up, and sometimes she disturbs people. Not knowingly disturbs people, but does it by trying to open doors or rattling doors or talking to herself or whatever. It's just a disturbing annoyance to people, and it's very hard. So people wanted her to be put into a nursing home. Now, I'm retired. I'm on a pension. I'm on a fixed income. I've heard stories about the cost of nursing homes. Never actually looked into a cost of nursing home, but I know from experience from her parents having to be, or her mother having to be put in a nursing home, some other people having to be putting in a nursing home. Nursing homes are very expensive. The average cost of a nursing home here in the area where I go to runs anywhere between $24,000 and $32,000 a month. And you have to pay that cost. If you don't have some kind of long-term health care insurance that will cover it, you have to pay that cost. So what they will do is kind of seize your assets and pay for it until you're out of money, until you can't pay for it anymore, and then the state will take over paying for it. Now, when the state takes over paying for it, you can rest assured that they're not paying that amount of money. But you have to pay that amount of money. So there's been a lot of discussions about what other people have done. One of the conversations is I should divorce my wife, and that way I'm not legally obligated after the divorce to pay for her health care costs. Now was a way, let me say was, and again, this is all a learning experience. There was a way of going overseas and getting a divorce, a one signature divorce, and keeping all of your assets and not being able to have a home, seize those assets to pay for her health care. Kind of pretty pathetic that we're in a day and age where people become sick. Let's say older people, but it's not necessarily older people. You could be young and have to go into one of these places also, depending on what happened to you. But it's pretty pathetic in a day and age like this that you would have to think of divorcing your partner just so they got the care that they needed without bankrupting you. That's one of the things that I was looking at. The other thing that I was looking at is my wife can be very annoying. She has a little bit of a temper and can share that, and I really didn't want to put her into a place where that aggravation and temper could manifest itself on somebody else if I wasn't there. It gets manifested on me because I'm with her all the time, and I can deal with it. I know her capabilities, I know what she's probably going to do or not do, and I can deal with it. That would not be the same if I put her in a home and she was with other patients or nurses or attendants in a home. First of all, they're not going to tolerate her being aggressive towards other patients. And secondly, the attendants and nurses are going to become aggravated or agitated after a while because of her actions. So there was two reasons I really didn't want to put her in a home. Again, this is all a learning experience, and maybe somebody out there listening to me can learn something from this. So I've kind of procrastinated on doing anything about this situation. And I had called because she is getting worse and worse, and a friend of mine his wife works for an attorney that kind of deals with this stuff. So I contacted him and wanted her to contact me so that I could set up a meeting and find out what the truth was about what can be covered by Medicare or Medicaid, or what I am going to have to pay out of pocket, or what is going to be seized or taken from me to pay for this stuff. So, to make a long story short, I contacted this woman because a Karen, and I use that term lightly because I have a friend whose name is Karen, and she may or may not be like that, fit that profile, but I regret to use that term because of all the Karens out there that are nothing like this. But let's call her a Karen, and she was young. A Karen called Adult Protective Services on my wife, thinking that she wasn't being cared for properly. So I had to put up with that. But before they even showed up, I had already contacted this lawyer. So I went through the situation with Adult Protective Services and kind of made them understand exactly what was going on, how we handled it. And when I say we, I'm talking about my family, my grandson, my granddaughter, my grandson's wife. And I kind of handled the situation. So, make a long story short, I contacted this lawyer, and all of this information that I had heard about people going bankrupt, and let me just regress here. I have know another person whose sister is in a nursing home in Chicago. His sister was never married. She was very well off. She was an executive secretary for somebody in a large corporation and made a lot of money. And she banked a lot of money because she really didn't have a lot of expenses. Millions. They had to put her in a nursing home, and the nursing home is taking that money, has seized that money for payment of her being there. And here's a woman who's been in this nursing home for 3 or 4 years, and the millions is depleted, and the only thing that's left is about $150,000. So this guy that I know, her brother, now has to figure out what can be done when the money is gone. So this money is totally gone. And that's kind of one of the things that I was concerned about. Am I going to be left, and understand it's just something that you have to think about. You have to kind of evaluate it for yourself. I really didn't want to put her in a nursing home for 2 reasons. One was because I didn't want her being in a nursing home. I thought she could probably get more care, more concerned or loving care from the family at home than she could in a nursing home. But don't get me wrong, money also played a role in this. I didn't want to be left bankrupt just so the owner of some nursing home could profit that extensively from one person. And I want you to think about that between $24,000 and $32,000 is the average cost in this local area per month. $32,000 a month for one person. So I wanted to share that with you for 2 reasons. I kind of felt like some of my viewers may think like me and kind of wonder about things like that. I never really talk about my wife. I've mentioned that she was sick in the past, but I've never really talked about her. But I wanted to share it with you because did I tell you that because I'm retired, they can't seize my assets? Because I'm living on a fixed income. So this whole thing, this whole scenario that I had learned about divorces and ways of years before something like this could happen, you have to put your money in a trust or something like that to keep it from being seized. I had never done that because my wife's condition came on fairly rapidly. I've always known that she's had mental problems, but I thought that's just what they were, mental problems. I never in a million years would have thought that she was the person that would be getting dementia, or that she would be the person that would have to go into health care, extended health care, that would, for me to think about maybe getting some kind of an insurance or something for it. So I kind of dropped the ball on that. But the whole thing, my whole point is hopefully this is a learning experience for you that don't know about it. I didn't know about it. I hear stories from other people, but basically those stories that I heard from other people are people that are working. And those stories that I told you about, divorces and stuff like that and seizing assets, can happen on a working person. It's only because, and I haven't gone through it yet, so I'm not positive of this, but I have talked to a lawyer and started the process in motion of maybe getting her home health care and stuff like that that's going to be paid for by Medicare or Medicaid because I am retired, because my assets are tied up in a retirement fund or retirement Social Security or pension plans. They cannot take the assets from somebody like that. So I got to tell you, I told you that I had contacted the lawyer before adult services showed up to the house, or they actually called me first, but I didn't get the phone call. I called them back and it went to voicemail. They never called me back. They just showed up at the house. I was kind of panic stricken. I was pissed, extremely pissed at this person, and I think I know who it is that made this call, this Karen that made this call. I'm extremely pissed that they didn't come to me to talk to me or get a better understanding of what was going on before they made this telephone call. But after having these people show up and then talking to this lawyer and her assuring me that everything that I own is relatively safe because of my position in life of being retired, was like this huge burden lifted off of me. Just a huge, I can't tell you how huge of a burden lifted off of me. It gives me a total different perspective of what I can do and what I can't do for her, or what the possibilities of just knowing the possibilities are there of if it doesn't work out with home health care, that she can go into one of these places and I don't have to worry about bankrupting myself or taking possible inheritance away from my grandchildren and great-grandchildren. It was a terrific relief off of it. So I just wanted to share that with you. I wanted to share it with you for two reasons, because I know some people kind of wonder these things when watching YouTube videos. What is the other part of his life like? Well, that's what I've been dealing with for the last 5 or 6 years. And so I've kind of shared it in hopes that people that do wonder that will now know it, but maybe it can help, that information can help somebody else in a case similar to this. So that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. Hit that like button. We're going to have actual shop work the next time.